Thank you for tuning in to Mr. Cliff's Toy Shop. On today's review, we'll be taking a look at the Hot Toys Batman Futura Night. I'll be scoring this figure in 6 categories: accessories, articulation, design, is it essential to your collection, functionality, and price. Once all the scores are totaled, I'll be giving you my opinion if this figure is a pass or a purchase. So for accessories, I have a few things to show. We'll start off with the base. I'm not a big fan of bases. However, this is one that I like more than the majority that Hot Toys include. It's small. It's something that simply clamps underneath the figure, and it doesn't take up that much space. Now swinging to more of the accessories we're more interested in. So it's not the easiest to get everything in this shot. So what we can't see clearly, I'll simply bring over so that you have a better way of seeing it. And I will not attempt to name these weapons. I'm going to simply show them. So starting off with this, you can see that it's extremely detailed. It appears that this part closes in. However, I attempted to do so. It felt like it was going to break. And I didn't see anything in the instructions that actually stated that this will close upon itself. So I wouldn't try that. I would leave it as it is. You have this, which I want to say is a grappling hook. Could be wrong. This part here detaches. This also detaches. Something that's pretty cool, you receive 2 of these, and they can actually attach to some of the different weapons here. Could actually have it here, or you can remove this from here and plug it in. Okay, so moving on to some other accessories. Very nice blue color here. This actually moves, as well as this one. Another accessory. I thought that this part would actually connect on here, but it doesn't, as you can see. But here is another accessory, and that's removable. And you can also plug in the piece that I showed you a little bit earlier. You also receive this weapon. Two batarangs, excuse me. I feel safe saying that. And they appear as if they're articulated, but they are not. You receive a larger batarang, which I believe it to be. Could be something else. You can see it has some wear on the ends or tips. This bat grenade, flashbang. Didn't I say I wasn't going to name stuff? Here I am trying to name stuff. And the figure comes with 9 hands. You receive 2 fisted hands. And the rest of the hands are accessory holding hands, which I think is pretty cool. So for each accessory that Batman comes with, you're able to get him to grip those accessories per a designated hand. And I think that that's pretty cool. And I won't go through each hand showing them hold the weapon. The finger could actually plug in here by the trigger, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how it goes. And the hands are done very well. And last but not least, you get another accessory to replace the mouthpiece on his face. So it pops out and you just plug this one in. So for articulation, let's start with the head. I'm going to actually remove it from the figure. It'll be a little easier for me to move around. So the first thing that I want to show you with the head itself is that it comes with an interchangeable mouthpiece. And I just quickly want to show you how to change that. So I'll be using these rounded scissors. Yes, they're rounded, so they're not sharp. It's not going to damage the figure. If you can see this point right here, you simply push it. And as you push it, the piece here easily pops out, leaving that hole. You simply take this piece and pop it in. And there you go. So the head is unable to look up at all. So the range of movement that you get is really unable to look down at all either. It does pivot side to side. You get full rotation. Let's take a look at the back of the figure and look at the cape for a moment. So the cape has 3 wires. The first wire is on the second part of the stitching, right along here. I'll bend it so that you can see. So the first wire is there. The second wire is in the middle of the cape. Also bend it so you can see it there. And the third wire is on the opposite side, second line along the stitching. You can bend the cape there as well. Okay, so for the rest of the articulation, the arm is able to lift that much, this much to the side. There is an upper cut in the bicep, which turns. There's no other movement in the lower forearm region. There is movement at the wrist, which turns sides to side. Doesn't hinge up at all. It does hinge down. I'm going to leave that off. Elbows are double jointed. You get about that much range of movement. With the torso, it doesn't crunch back at all. It does crunch forward. You get some movement at the waist. The body is able to pivot side to side. The leg extends that much forward. None backwards. There's one cut in the leg. Right up here, you get some rotation. Knees are double jointed, bend all the way. There is no boot movement. The ankles do turn. They do lift up, not much. And you get some movement below. So for accessories, I'm giving this figure an 8 out of 10. In my opinion, it comes with everything that you would want for a Batman figure, with the exception of an unmasked Bruce Wayne head and accessories that actually fit inside of his utility belt. So for articulation, I give this figure a 3 out of 10. It is very limited in its range of movement. The head doesn't look up at all, which makes it impossible to put Batman in those iconic poses of I'm looking in the sky with my grappling hook about to shoot into the nearest building. The arms are extremely limited in range of movement. The legs are extremely limited in range of movement with the exception of the double jointed knees. I would have been more forgiving in my score if this figure was Batman. Batman is a bigger dude, but he's known for being in some of those flexible movements similar to Spider-Man. So to have a figure that's unable to capture any range of movement that we're used to seeing Batman in, it's a disappointment. So for design, I'm scoring this figure a 3 out of 10, and there are 2 reasons why. The version before you is the version from the Batman Dark Knight Arkham video game, which the suit was derived from. The suit that we received in action figure form is drastically different from this version, so it's not accurate. The second reason is Hot Toys took a shortcut. Instead of giving us the suit that's before you, they simply took the Batman Arkham Knight Batsuit, sprayed it black and red, and branded it as the Batman Futura Night suit. They even had the audacity to spray paint the flesh tone black. So for that, I'm going to have to give this a very low score. Is this essential to your collection? This was the hardest area for me to score, and here's why. This may be the only Batman Beyond figure that we receive in 1/6 scale. Is it accurate? Nope. Does it have flaws? Absolutely. Is there a list of improvements that can be made? You bet. With all of that being said, a collector has to ask themselves, is having the figure with all the flaws simply better than not having the figure at all? And I'm very torn between those 2 things. So I'm going to give this a very safe number of 5 out of 10. So for functionality, I'm going to score this figure a 4 out of 10. And I'm going to start with the most prevalent issue, and that would be the suit itself. It's not stretchable, it's not posable, so it provides a lack of articulation to the Batman figure, which strongly works against it. You simply can't get Batman in many of the action poses that you would like to. Now, to move on to some minor gripes, I will start with the head. In my opinion, it should have been a light up feature that was added. And now moving on to the cape. The cape currently has 3 bendy wires inside of it. I believe the addition of 2 other bendy wires would have made the cape more stable and easier to pose. In addition, if Hot Toys could find a way to include some sort of pocket on the inside of the cape, this way Batman could actually place his hand inside of the cape, and as he's posing, the cape would actually pose with his body rather than have to make adjustments to make it move separately. Now for some of the positives. One of the great things with this figure itself would be the hands that were included. The majority of the hands were made for specific weapons that comes with Batman. I don't think I've seen Hot Toys do this before, to provide hands that were made to go with certain weapons. That was a real high for this figure. So for pricing, this figure is priced at $250 before shipping. I gave this a 4 out of 10, and there are many reasons to go through. I'll just give you a few, starting with the lack of articulation. You can't get Batman in many of the poses that you want him to be in. In addition, we are receiving a figure that we've already received for those who purchased the Arkham Knight figure. It's just resprayed. It actually comes with less accessories. And we're also getting a figure that's inaccurate. It's not what it looks like on the game. And normally Hot Toys is pinpoint when it comes to matching a figure with a game or movie or wherever they took their source material from. This isn't it, and it's not it because they chose to do a shortcut. So if they're going to take shortcuts when it comes to giving us figures, then the price needs to be different. So this figure receives a Cliff score of 28 out of 60. Now, is this a pass or purchase? In my opinion, if you have the Batman Arkham Knight figure, this is a pass. Thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you the next show.